everyone, Tania here with another episode of Pop Culture at Home, and today we are welcoming the very talented, award-winning director and producer, Paul Feig, who has brought us a barrel of laughs with Bridesmaids, The Heat, and the female-led Ghostbusters, and my personal favorite, Spy. Paul, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Tania. It's great to see you.
So, before we get into it, I really want to know, how have you been coping? Because it's been a very different year for all of us.
Yeah, I mean, it's been strange, but I would be terrible if I complained. I'm very lucky. We've got a nice house and everything, but it's been an interesting, uncertain time. But for those of us who write and are, have the creative job, at least we kind of get to catch up on things.
Mm-hmm. And, I want to talk about your next creation because it actually comes at the perfect time for all of us. And as a cocktail lover who has traveled far and wide, you've actually come up with the perfect gin. So can you tell us about Ardingstall's Brilliant London Dry Gin?
Yes, I can. It's something I'm a gin fanatic. I've always loved gins because I love cocktail culture. Mm-hmm. And martini is my favorite drink in the world, and a real martini is always made out of gin. And I've just spent years and years traveling the world, kind of tasting different gins, trying to find the one that I like the best, and never quite found one that was like hit everything I wanted it to do. And so years ago, I was like, I want to have my own gin, and then just by working at it and finding the right place to do it at, over the last 2.5 years, to develop this gin that's out now called Ardingstall's Brilliant London Dry Gin.
Mm-hmm. And one of the really fun things about you've been actually showing a lot of your gin creations on Instagram. So it was during quarantine cocktail time. So, you started this during the start of lockdown, and you've been going through I think there's more than 60, 70 episodes now. So did you?
There's 110.
110. Okay, it's fair to say
it's too many. It's too many, Tanya. It's really too many.
It's okay. So I'm wondering, how did you know it was going to go this long? With all this creations and people wanting to get more creations from you, these drinks.
No, I mean, I started it because I had gotten back I was in the middle of production on something that we had to shut down because of going into quarantine. And I remember just thinking, well, I want to do something to help. I can donate money to causes, but I really want to do something, but I'm not a medical professional. So I'm a comedy guy. Maybe I'll make people laugh for 15 minutes a day. And I like making cocktails. So I'll each day make a cocktail I haven't made before, and we'll do it together. But I didn't know how long quarantine was going to go, but we ended up doing the first batch. We did 100 shows in a row without a day off every single day at 5 o'clock. And it just sort of, kind of took off, and it's been very fun for me because, again, I love cocktails and it's fun to get to play around, but it's really just an excuse to be goofy and to raise money for charity.
And I love the charitable component of it all because it's not just, fun and drinks and, you dancing and your wife coming with your dog Buster as well. And so I'm wondering, how do you know which charities to pick, especially since we've been in such a social climate that there's so many topics and so many things that are going on?
Yeah, well, I mean, for the first, few months, it was just all COVID related. And, I love charities, but I'm very into making sure that the charities are vetted and right, and that the majority of the money goes to the cause. Because a lot of well-meaning charities still have very high administrative costs and, and salaries. And I don't want to point people towards that because I want their money to go to the good place. So I use a thing called Charity Navigator, which you can go to, and they will rate all the charities, and they'll tell you exactly where the percentage of the money goes. So really went through that a lot. But then when the George Floyd thing happened and Black Lives Matter, then I really shifted our fundraising to support that cause. And then I just did a show recently that's supporting the wildfires. So, sadly, there's always causes that need help because there's so many injustices going on in this world right now. So, but, and any little thing that we can do to help, that's always the goal.
And, I want to also talk about the drinks because they're really yummy and they're fabulous recipes. So is there one that stands out to you right now that you've maybe tried recently, or one that you just want everyone to try out?
Well, I mean, I've taken to inventing drinks, which has been my favorite thing in the world. And I've invented actually about 10 of them now. But there's one I made in honor of my wife. Backstory on it, before I tell you the name of it, whenever on my show, I shoot my show out in this bar I have in my guest house, and the door is very squeaky. And so every time my wife would enter, you'd hear this big squeak with the door. And so I always would say, oh, the squeaky door. So I invented a drink for her called the Squeaky Door.
Yeah.
Actually, a restaurant called Redbird LA has bottled it, and it's really fun. It's gin and cherry liqueur and orange curacao. And what's the other one? Oh shoot, there's one other ingredient I'm blanking out on. And then a little bit of lemon, and then you mix it up, and then you put it in a glass with ice, and then you top it off with club soda, and it's very good.
You know, one of my favorites is the Blushing Bridesmaids. And speaking of bridesmaids, because I want to have a nice transition into it.
Well done.
I want to talk about the watch along because it's so much fun, and it's going to be like 10 years, like in 2021, that the movie. So, like, first of all, like, what's the reception been like with Bridesmaids, like after all these years? And now there's like old fans and new fans, and now this watch along is coming up.
Yeah, I mean, Bridesmaids has just been the little film that just kind of kept going, and it's been really, it's what you dream of when you make movies, but you never even dare think it could happen because there's so much stuff out there. But it's just been one of these movies that's just resonated with people. And the greatest thing for me is when somebody comes up and says, I've watched that movie 10, 20 times. It's my go-to when I'm sad or I want to cheer up. And that's why we do comedy. We don't do comedy to win awards and all that stuff. We want to be the thing you go to make yourself feel better. And the other great thing about Bridesmaids, though, is it's a very funny comedy. But the reason I think it has stood these 10 years test of time so far is just it's a very relatable story about trying to hang on to your best friend, and what's involved with that, and sort of going through that insecure part of your life. And if it was all just crazy things happening in the bathroom of the dress shop, I don't think it would have held up as much as it does, because Kristin's performance is so good, and it means so much about her and Maya trying to keep that friendship.
And we've got the watch along coming on September 24th, and it's for everyone whose wedding has been postponed or just someone who's a fan of the movie. And so I love that it's benefiting Family Promise, an organization that transforms families affected by homelessness, which is on the rise during lockdown and quarantine. So tell us about the event and what fans can expect the night of the 24th.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. On the 24th, basically, you'll sign it. You sign up for free. It's no cost, but for everybody who signs up, we do give $1 to Family Promise, and also you can get a discount on my gin, so you can make the drinks along with me. And I've invented 3 drinks for it. But basically, what we're going to do, it's going to be on Zoom. So you'll sign in. I'll be there. And, we'll talk up front, and then whatever device you have Bridesmaids on. At the same time, we'll say, and start the film. And so we'll watch it that way. I won't be on the screen, but I'll keep my voice up. And so I can I'm going to chime in with sort of like telling stories and little behind the scenes things about the movie. But at three different times during the film, I think it's 3 different times, we're going to stop, make a cocktail. We may have a special guest or 2 to do an interview. And then we'll just keep going through the movie. And it's going to be fun. We're going to have a boozy, fun, good time, a lot of comedy. Like you said, it's really dedicated to anybody whose wedding got postponed, who didn't get to have the nuptials they wanted, or anybody who loves the movie.
And let's reminisce a bit, Paul, because this was actually one of my favorite movies. And so I love, there's so many scenes, like there's like the one where Annie punches the cookie. That's such a great scene. And then there's obviously the bathroom scene when they're trying on the dresses. And I want to know, what is one of your favorite scenes, especially because there's such a lovely and an awesome backstory for you because you were filming it.
Yeah, I mean, it is hard to pick, but I know the airplane sequence just makes me laugh, because I have a real, what I love about that sequence, having made the movie, is that sequence wasn't originally going to be part of the movie. Originally, they got to Vegas, and there was this whole sequence that took place in Vegas where Annie runs out of money and she's trying to keep up, and there's a scene in a strip club. It was all very funny, but The Hangover had just come out and done really well. And so we thought, well, we can't really kind of compete with that. They did Vegas so well. Yeah. So then I was like, well, why don't they just not get there? And so that was where that came from, the whole idea of like this thing falling apart on the plane. And then, when Kristen and Annie wrote that scene, I just remember reading it, just thinking it was the funniest thing I've ever read. Colonial women on the wing of the plane. Come on, that right there. I was like, this is brilliant.
And I feel like that is one of the most gifable moments in like pop culture history, of Annie saying "let's party" when she's on the plane and she's all doped up. And so I know I use that a lot at work too, when we're like, we sign into work and I'm just like, let's party. But it's such a fun movie. And I'm wondering, do you ever see the movie getting a sequel?
I don't know. That would be totally up to Kristen. The funny thing though about a sequel to Bridesmaids, it seems like a no-brainer because you go like, just like a crazy wedding. But the reason, again, that movie worked is because Kristen Wiig's character was really going through this major crisis. And it was all about solving that crisis. And so, you don't want to do a sequel like, and she's in a crisis again, so, but look, never say never. There's a lot of funny things we could do. So,
yeah, because I know a lot of people love that movie. And, I'm going to actually ask about, just to get off topic a little bit, but Spy. Is there any chance we're ever going to get a part 2 for Spy? Because that was laugh out loud hilarious. I think it's one of those movies that can be like a franchise with Melissa McCarthy because she's genius. And I'm sure you also echo those sentiments as well. But any chance for another movie?
I mean, that one definitely. I mean, I when I created that idea, I guess, it was really in the thought of like, this like a Bond movie, we could just have more adventures with her. So we'll see. I mean, at the time, the movie made just not quite enough money for the studio to want to make a sequel, but it's really, thanks to people like yourself, it's really taken off in its afterlife, which I love, because honestly, in many ways, I think that might be my favorite movie I've made, just because it checks so many boxes of I love spy movies, I love action, but I love comedy, and like we were able to mix all that up. So, so fingers crossed.
Yeah. So, I want to ask you about, the pandemic and movies. It's been an experience that a lot of us, we're all missing going to the movies. Do you see us going back to the theaters anytime soon? Or do you think there's another viable way that we can all as a collective kind of get into this, watch a movie like how Mulan came out on VOD and then, now we're doing watch-alongs. Do you think there's another way that we can transform cinema?
Well, I don't think we'll ever go away from movie theaters. I am a hardcore movie theater person. And so, obviously right now we're in a time where it's not, that safe to go in there. Yeah. But, we'll eventually come out of this, somehow everybody will pull together and science will do it. But then, I'm old enough to have heard the death of movie theaters coming. First when it was DVDs were going to kill it, and all these other things. We all love that group experience. We want to, with comedy, to laugh in a room full of other people experiencing it. So I think it will come back. I do think it's very interesting right now that the whole drive-in thing. I think that's kind of cool. But again, you're still separated from everybody. You don't have that feeling of hearing people laugh. So I think, movie theaters, we love movie theaters.
Yeah. And, there's this one thing I noticed, like, everybody, when they want to show the movies, how much they love the movies, there's that one scene from the Avengers where I think, in Infinity War, where everyone sort of screams in the theater. And I'm sure you've seen that moment. And so, like, that's something that I guess, a lot of people are getting nostalgic for. And so I'm just wondering, like, all these movies, movies that are coming out, do you think also we'll be able to go and go to all these conventions also? Because I know that you've also done a few. So do you think that we're going to go back to seeing conventions happen, or are there going to be different digital sort of ways to tackle them?
I think we're always going to have conventions. Because it's where you go to buy all the fun stuff you want to get. Yeah. I've been going to Comic-Con for 25 plus years. I really miss not going this year. So no, look, the great thing about Zoom and all this stuff is it definitely gives another option. If somebody can't make it or whatever, it's made us more tolerant of going like, oh, cool. They're, like I'm okay to watch them on a computer or whatever. But again, that level of excitement that you get, like, in one of those big rooms at Comic-Con, Hall H or whatever it is, when people come in and they're cheering and then people get to ask questions and they have that kind of fun and be in cosplay, it's not as fun to do cosplay on Zoom. I would dare say.
Well, I think for the watch along for Bridesmaids, we can probably get into our bridesmaids dresses or bridal gowns and watch the movie.
Yes, please. Everybody dress up.
Yeah.
I may wear a tuxedo. You never know.
So, I want to talk about the drinks actually, because you have the Cake Baby Spritz, you have the Jordan Almond, and the Fritz Bernese. Is there one that you're leaning towards that fans should be trying with each, like while watching the movie, or anything like a sequential order that we should maybe have all three of them in the night?
Yeah, we're gonna make him in order. It's I kind of also named them sort of in order of the movie.
Okay.
Because the Cake Baby, that's we meet a friend. But that's a spritz, so that's a nice way to start. It's gin and a cranberry juice and club soda, so that's just a nice light way to get in. And then the Fritz Bernese is a green drink because I wanted it to reflect the green pallor on our bridesmaids as they got sick.
Yeah.
It's actually really good because it's made with Midori and it's really quite tasty. And then the Jordan Almond is obviously in honor of the Jordan Almond. That almost makes her throw up. Yeah. But I love cream-based drinks because I like a good dessert drink. So this is what I invented. It's a cream one. So yeah, so we'll go kind of like a starter, then your main cocktail, and then your dessert cocktail. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And you'll be feeling good by the end.
I'm sure. You also mentioned earlier before I let you go that you were talking about you were in the middle of projects when the lockdown happened. So is there anything that we should be knowing about, like any next movies that you want to that we're going to be seeing soon?
We're just getting ready to go into prep and production on this big movie I'm going to do for Netflix called The School for Good and Evil, which is based on the series of books of the same name, and I'm really excited about it. This is something that I signed on to before the pandemic and all, and we were actually supposed to be shooting it right now, but it's given us more time to work on the script, to refine the script, get amazing design. It's a big movie. It's a big, beautiful, but fun. It's funny. I would say it's kind of like Frozen meets The Princess Bride. So there's a lot going on in it, but two amazing lead characters, these two young women, and I'm thrilled. I can't wait to get to London and start making.
It's going to be so much fun. And I know I cannot wait to see it. So, Paul, thank you so much. We're so excited for the event, which is on September 24th. And thank you so much for chatting with us. Save the date, guys, because the Bridesmaids Watch Along with Paul Feig is set for September 24th via Zoom. And for everyone who RSVPs, Arting Stalls will donate $1 to Family Promise, helping families experiencing homelessness, an issue that is spiking during the pandemic.